If you haven't tried Via yet, what are you doing? You're seriously missing out. We love this brand and use them all the time. Whether you want to chill out, sleep better, boost your mood, or just refocus during the day, Via is here to enhance your everyday. They are trusted by over 500,000 customers, including me and Russ. I mean, we talk about them all the time, whether it's through the ad or just in our show. Via blends high-quality hemp-derived ingredients with plant extracts to deliver a real effect-driven product. From zero THC to high-potency options, you can totally customize your experience with them. Their gummies are award-winning, and I'm telling you, they taste just like candy. There's no medical card needed. They ship legally and discreetly all across the U.S. And if you're not sure where to start, just take their product finder quiz. It only takes a minute, and it gives you a personalized recommendation based on exactly what you're looking for. So if you're 21 and up, head to viahemp.com and use code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off, free shipping on orders over $100, and a free gift with your first order. That's viahemp.com. And don't forget to enter Wife of Crime #1 at checkout. After you order, they'll ask how you heard about them. Please tell them we sent you, because we love them and we want them to be our sponsor forever. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Nowadays, wellness and mental health is a huge industry, and we talk about it all the time, especially on the internet. Sometimes it can get super overwhelming. There's advice for everything out there, like cold plunges and gratitude journals and screen detoxes. But how do you know what's actually right for you? Sometimes it's nice to get an outside perspective from a professional who can help you navigate your wellness and mental health journey. Since starting therapy 5 years ago, I have grown exponentially, just in so many ways, spiritually, emotionally, with my interpersonal relationships. And my therapist has been there the whole time, helping me navigate all of this. So if you're interested in giving therapy a try, talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month. Head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ. In 2001, a scientist named Robert Schwartz was found dead in his home. He was a pioneer for DNA research. Initially, cops thought he was targeted because of his work. But once the autopsy revealed that he was murdered with a sword, that changed everything. And it turns out this was way more personal. This is the insane case of Robert and Clara Schwartz. Everyone, welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. the best profiler around, a.k.a. Mr. Not Me Not Today, a.k.a. Man with a Van, a.k.a. It's not a kidnapping van.
Man with a van.
I bought a van.
He did. We bought a van life van.
Yeah, so listen, guys. I might hit the road when Jess gets on my nerves.
Yeah,
you might see me flowing through your town.
Russ on tour.
Yo, where in the world is Russ San Diego?
That's really funny. Yeah, we bought a van and it came with a whole camper setup, and we're super excited about it.
Yeah, Jess is gonna try to flower it up, but it ain't happening.
I'm not gonna flower it up. I know it's your van more than mine, so I'm not gonna make it all girly.
Not like my hospital room when your mom had butterflies everywhere.
She did.
I had the best little girl hospital room of all time.
When he was in his inpatient rehab when we were in Chicago, my mom came and put butterfly stickers everywhere. It was like an 11-year-old girl's room for sure.
Did you see the lady in Florida that pretended to be a nurse and treated over 4,500 patients, and she wasn't a nurse?
No, I did not. That's crazy.
It is. So her name is Autumn Bardissa. She's 29. She told people she was a nurse, even though she only had an expired CNA license.
Oh, wow.
And the only way she was caught, well, she used another nurse's license number and claimed her name was different because she got married.
Oh.
So she got caught only when she was trying to get a promotion, and they double-checked her records.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they found out it wasn't her. Now she's facing 14 felony charges, 7 for practicing without a license, and 7 for ID fraud. She's sitting in jail on a $70,000 bond.
I mean, I understand. Like, we give medicine that can kill people as nurses. Like, if we make a med error, we can literally kill people. It's happened.
But the thing is, she didn't make these errors. So, like, what that made me think is, man, how easy is it to be a nurse?
Yeah, okay,
like,
Russ.
anyone could do it.
Yeah, okay, Russ. Don't even start with me.
Like,
you wanted to bring up this story specifically just so that you could talk shit about nurses.
Anyone could do it.
Whatever. Nurse gang is going to come for you.
What they going to do? They going to make TikToks about me and do a dance?
We're all going to give you a giant slap.
And, also, one of the number one cheating professions, they always say, is nurses.
Wow.
That's like a well-known thing.
Is it?
Well, on Instagram.
I've never heard it on Instagram. Life according to memes. You're an idiot.
And you know the joke, right? How can you tell if someone's a nurse?
How?
They'll tell you.
How many times have you said this joke on the podcast? You've been saying this joke for 10 years or however long I've been a nurse.
It's because it still bothers you. So, guys, right now, I just want to let everyone know, if you need any nursing services, I am currently a registered nurse now.
Yeah, okay.
I identify as a registered nurse.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. So, if you need a needle, I don't really like to do IVs, but I can give you a needle in the fat or in the muscle.
Wow, the fact that you even know that they go in either fat or muscle is very good.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten enough needles.
You have. You do get a lot of needles.
But I don't do any, like, baths, or if you poop yourself, that's on you.
Oh, so if someone poops, you're not helping them out.
That's a shitty situation.
You just brought up this whole case just to troll me.
Literally.
That's it.
Literally.
Yeah.
I scour the internet looking, how can I make fun of a nurse? And then this angel, Autumn Bardissa, came around and said, I'm a nurse too.
To help with your troll game. Whatever. You know what? We have a lot of nurse listeners. A lot. And they're going to come for you. Well, this month on the Patreon, we watched and reviewed the Amy Lynn Bradley documentary.
Oh, yeah.
It was really popular. It was all over TikTok. Everybody's talking about theories. We watched and reviewed it. We talked about our theories. A lot of engagement from our Patreon people. Like, the crime family loved it. So if you're interested in hearing that one and all of our True Crime and Chill episodes, head over to patreon.com/wifeofcrimepod. And Russ has the patron shout outs.
We got Kane, Penny, Taylor, Denora, 3 Sarahs. Holy moly. That's a lot of Sarahs. Becca, Linda, Liv, Lindley, Kelly, Debbie, Samantha, Keegan, Adriana, Rochelle, Rachel, Sharon, Foxy Joe, Monica, Sierra, Victoria, and Gina Cash, a.k.a. G-Unit. That's what she put. So when she was young, since her name was Gina, she probably said she was G-Unit.
Yeah. So I know Gina personally.
Oh, yeah?
Shout out to Gina. And I didn't tell you this ahead of time because she was so excited to see if you would actually say G-Unit. But Yeah, so when she was younger, her name's Gina, and all her friends called her G-Unit.
She probably was like, I was so cool.
The best is that she asked me at work the other day, does Russ like 50 Cent? I was like, wait, you don't even know. Russ was up on 50 before anybody.
Yeah, I got his bootleg CD at the car wash. They always had the African dude selling the bootleg CDs. And he might have gave me that one for free because I didn't know who it was. And, back then you would take a CD and you just listen to it front to back while you're driving.
Yeah.
So I just listened to it and it was dope. And
you're still
I would put my friends on like, yo, they'd be like, who's this? I'm like 50 Cent. They'd be like, who? And that was before he got shot.
Yeah, it was before he got shot. Exactly. Like you listened to him, but when his rap voice sounded so different.
He said his original rap voice wouldn't have worked. He said his voice from getting shot actually works.
But now you are a big fan still, not only because of his music, but because of his troll game.
Oh, yeah. He's a great troll.
Yeah, he is.
Him, Cameron, they remind me of myself.
Yes.
But I haven't found anyone to really give the wrath to lately.
Except me.
Well,
Because you just troll me nonstop.
How'd the dog get up here?
It's not a dog.
What was that?
That was a ghost.
We did.
That was a ghost,
for
sure.
The door just banged and we're in the room. Huh.
Yeah.
All right, folks, I'm still alive. So
the guy who doesn't believe in anything paranormal looks really freaked out right now because our door just banged hard in the room we're in.
She bangs.
How you keep staring at it.
That was the spirit of William Hung.
That's the most paranormal thing that's ever happened to you.
I don't believe it. This is an old house and the door's probably stuck and now it's unstuck and it'll open easy because our doors get a little jammed up.
Okay,
sometimes.
So that's your explanation. Giant bang on the door, but there's always an explanation for it.
Yeah, but they probably didn't hear it, so it's probably not a giant bang.
Well, no, but we heard it.
All right, so I am going to do a review of the week again. And I had a hard time picking them because probably about 80% of our fans are women. So that means 80% of our reviews are by women. And that means 80% of our reviews are really long-winded. So
they're all like me.
Bro.
I send Russ paragraphs through text.
I only read the last little bit of it and maybe the first. The middle, that's fluff.
I love how I send him a whole paragraph and then he just writes back K. Or an emoji.
That means I saw it.
Or he just thumbs up the message.
What am I going to do? I
don't know. Answer me.
I could be like, wow, that's a lot of words.
You're an idiot.
What else?
Go ahead.
All right. So this week's review is from Justice, a.k.a. the Jess.
Oh.
It says, oh no, I'm a Jess. 5 stars.
Nice.
Sounds like she's worried about being a Jess. I want to start by saying, yes, Justice is my real name. I was named after Janet Jackson in Poetic Justice starring Tupac.
Oh, good movie.
Because for some reason, no one ever believes me. There's a lot I want to say because I'm an A1 day one, but Russ hates to read, so I'll keep it short as possible. Plus, he can't stand up for himself no more. All right, well, Justice, you're already over the word limit, but I'm going to keep going. Anyway, I used to tell my husband to listen to yous because I always thought we were just like you guys, but I was more like Russ and he was more like Jess. I prided myself on this until the more I listened. The more I listened, the more I just realized, oh God, I'm a Jess. We say the same things at the same time. I know. We roll our eyes at Russ together, and we both wheeze together. So, now alls I have to say is, we are funny. I'm going to let you finish, Russ, but Jess and I have the greatest jokes of all time. Hashtag Wheezy Babies. Hashtag Jess is funny too. Hashtag I'm a Jess, and I'm proud.
Oh, thank you.
And that was a good review. But you know what? You are a Jess because that was really long. So, yeah.
So it's interesting that Justice thinks I'm funny. I got a text message from our good friend, Denise.
Oh, the crazy one.
Yeah, we love Denise. She's been a friend of the show and us for a very, very long time. And Denise texted me randomly out of the blue this week to tell me that a bunch of her friends randomly found us. Like, she hadn't told them about us.
Oh, wow.
And they randomly found us, and they were all on like a Zoom chat talking about us. And they were talking about how naturally funny I am.
Shut up.
No, they literally were. I can pull the text up right now.
These are definitely all women.
They are all women, yes. Denise said that, I'm going to read the text. Let's see. Here we go. I have so many friends who love true crime and found you guys independently of me. Our other college girlfriends just started listening now too, and they all have said you are very funny.
Oh my God.
Sure. Russ is funny, but he tries.
No.
You're effortlessly funny. Thank you, Denise. I love you.
I used to think Denise was funny, but I guess not. She don't know funny.
She does. Denise is really funny.
Sorry, guys. I forgot all the Patreons. Cheers to you.
Oh, yeah. Cheers. Oh, yeah. We forgot to do the opening cheers.
I just almost died. The beer bubbles were coming up, and I was trying to drink them faster than so they don't spill. I was choking.
You're gonna have a lot of burps now.
No,
that we're gonna have to delete.
Well, if you're able to get your farts out of the podcast, then my burps are gonna not be a problem.
Whatever. Okay, let's start the story. One thing that you have said in the past became kind of a tagline for you is #no new friends.
Yeah.
Because you truly don't make new friends.
Yeah, I have a friend that I've been friend with for like 15 years, but I'm like, he's kind of new.
He's the newest friend you have, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, you met him when you and I first started dating, and you haven't made any new friends since. Well, we've all been there besides Russ. The moment you meet someone new and you feel like you just click. A shared joke, a common interest, a little spark of connection. For some people, finding that kind of friendship feels easy. But for others, especially those who spent their lives feeling misunderstood or isolated, finding a new group of friends can feel like a lifeline. Some kids fit easily into the boxes. The athletes, the popular kids, the student council smart types. But then there are the outsiders. The ones who never really felt like they fit in anywhere. Maybe they dress in all black. Maybe they are obsessed with fantasy worlds. Maybe they just don't speak the same language as everyone else around them.
Literally?
No, like figuratively.
Oh.
These kids often find each other. And in the late 90s and early 2000s, that usually meant hanging out in an emo or goth scene.
And playing hacky sack with Jinko jeans on.
And diving deep into role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons or even LARPing.
So your brother wanted to do recently. He's trying to get us into Dungeons & Dragons.
He is. My brother is a nerd who plays D&D, and he's been trying to get us to play D&D with him.
You know what? If he throws away his flip-flops, I'll play Dungeons & Dragons with him. I need a video.
I'll let him know. For a lot of those kids, it was harmless. It was a creative outlet, a way to take control in a world where they felt powerless. But for some, those fantasy worlds became more than just make-believe. They became an escape from reality. And sometimes reality and fantasy started to bleed together. And that's where things get dangerous. Not every friendship is good for you. Not every group is safe to be a part of. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to a fragile person is meeting the wrong people at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah, especially if you're insecure, because then you'll do things to try to fit in.
Mm-hmm. This is the insane murder of Robert Schwartz. Are you ready?
Yeah.
On December 11th, 2001, in the quiet town of Leesburg, Virginia, a colleague of Robert Schwartz turned down a long gravel driveway heading for the old secluded farmhouse Robert had lived in for years. He didn't show up for work that morning, which is completely out of character for him because Robert Schwartz was a workaholic. And for good reason. He was one of the most respected scientists in the country. He was 57 years old, and he was a leader in the field of DNA research. This man had dedicated his life to science and was admired across the world for his work.
Shout out to science.
Definitely. He was a Harvard graduate.
Co-sign that.
So really, though, I love science. He was a Harvard graduate with a PhD in chemistry, and he became a pioneer in the biometrics and DNA research realm way before most of us even knew what DNA was.
Way before I was the CEO of the DNA shop.
Yes, way before all of that. Him and his team are actually responsible for the development of the DNA database.
Wow.
He pioneered the entire field of DNA research.
I'm surprised that when babies are born, they just don't keep a record of your DNA.
That's a little freaky.
It is, but I'm surprised they don't try to mandate that.
So he helped establish the Virginia Biotechnology Association, and he advised the National Science Foundation, and he was part of projects that shaped genetic medicine as we know it today. His colleagues described him as a visionary, someone who saw where the science of genetics was headed decades before it became mainstream. So yeah, he didn't miss work. Ever. Even when his wife died from a horrendous battle with cancer in 1997, Robert just dug deeper into science. It was his outlet, his obsession.
Fuck cancer.
His life's work. Yes, definitely fuck cancer. I co-sign that. His coworker, who decided to drive over to his home to check on him, walked up to the door and knocked. There was no answer, so he started turning the doorknob, which was unlocked, and he just walked in. He immediately saw Robert laying on the floor in a pool of blood and frantically called 911. When police got to the house, they were met with a scene that looked like a medieval execution. Robert had been stabbed 17 times. His throat was slashed so deeply it nearly severed his head from his body.
Like Alison Bata?
Yeah.
Crazy. Listen to that episode. That episode's crazy.
And carved into his neck was a giant X. The level of violence was shocking, and the strange X mark made investigators immediately wonder if they were dealing with something ritualistic. But 2001 was a terrible and scary year in America. The Twin Tower terrorist attacks on 9/11 had just happened. And then, on September 18th and October 9th, the anthrax letters were sent. I didn't realize how close the anthrax situation was to 9/11. It was only a week later.
You know, I was never worried about anthrax letters. Were they only sent to, like, famous people or something?
No, they were sent to scientists and people died.
Oh, scientists.
Several prominent scientists had died suddenly around that period of time, some under odd and violent circumstances, which only fueled conspiracy theories when Robert was found murdered in such a brutal and bizarre way. But as the investigation unfolded, it became clear this wasn't the work of terrorists or rival scientists. It was something far more personal and tragic. Robert was a widower, raising 3 children after his wife passed away. By all accounts, he was, like I said, a workaholic, but also a good father, doing the best he can to hold his family together. His friends and colleagues described him as gentle and hardworking and generous. But unfortunately, his youngest daughter, Clara, didn't see him that way at all.
I can't believe kids do that. That's why I ain't got no kids. Lucy ain't gonna do that. Tyson ain't gonna do it. Biggie definitely wouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
Get yourself a dog, folks. Give the kids up for adoption.
Stop. Clara Jane Schwartz was born in 1981. She was the last of her 3 siblings, and her childhood and home life was pretty ordinary. She did good in school, and she was very smart. She got good grades. And she did really well in math and science. She was one of those kids who was like extra smart, like photographic memory type of smart, like could just read, a couple chapters in a book and then ace the test.
Kind of like kids that like want to go to summer school even when they don't have to. That's like Onyx's daughter. She didn't have to, but she wanted to go to summer school. I'm like, what? Is that even a child at this point? She could emancipate. Once you choose to go to
summer school,
you could emancipate yourself. You're already more mature than us.
You.
Yeah, than all the friends I know. And then I was telling, like he's always yelling at his girls to do their homework.
Yeah.
And I was like, do they know you never did homework even once? I was
sure
like, because I'm telling them. I was like, I'm absolutely telling. And it doesn't make me a snitch. I'm doing this because it's funny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Clara was one of those like super smart kids, and she like school just came easy to her. She didn't have to try hard. There are people out there like that. I unfortunately am not one of them, but there are a lot of people who school and schoolwork just comes easy. They ace tests. They don't have to try hard. They don't have to read the book. They can write the stuff, the report really easy. Like it's just all easy for them. She also loved history. In high school, she was part of the school's history club. But Clara was bullied in school pretty relentlessly. This caused her to hang out with a lot of nerds. She was a bit of an outcast, but she found solace in that group of kids.
Let me tell you this, too. Being a nerd is fucking awesome. Like, if you guys are considered a nerd, you're probably killing it.
100%. Yeah.
Because
being a nerd is awesome.
All the people that are, like, super cool in high school, that's probably their best years right there.
They peak.
And whoever is, like, normal or, like, a nerd, your best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Because all these people that are super popular, they'll have 3-4 kids very soon. Like all the girls that got the boobs early, they always pregnant first.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like if everyone's hunting this deer, eventually someone's gonna catch it.
Yeah, I think being a nerd is way cooler. I hung out with a lot of nerds in high school, and I was one of those. I wasn't like in a specific group. Like I had friends in all the groups. So I was never somebody who just hung out with a certain type of people. I also went to arts high schools, which are really different. Like I went to Baltimore School for the Arts and then an arts high school in Florida. And it's just a different type of high school. Like you're not dealing with jocks and there's no sports teams. So everyone is a little nerdier at an arts high school.
You know what's crazy? They have Bronx Science,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like supposed to be like the smart school in the Bronx. People used to just go to that school to like pick on those kids. It's
What?
So terrible. Yeah, it was such like
Oh my God,
so
that's
fucked up.
terrible. So Clara hung out with the nerds, and these were her people, right? These were the people that she could relate to. Sadly, when Clara was 16, her mom, Joan, lost her battle with cancer and died. And Clara took this loss incredibly hard. It was said that she was Joan's favorite out of the 3 kids. The 2 of them were just closer, and they hung out more often. And so when her mom died, she was devastated, and she took it really, really hard. There are tons of diary entries that they have found where she's talking about this. She ended up going into a very dark and depressed place after this.
As anyone would.
And then her relationship with her father completely fell apart. She fell deeper into a more emo and goth lifestyle, dressing differently, hanging out with goth kids, playing fantasy role-playing games, having bigger interests in alternate beliefs like the occult or witchcraft. Robert was not a fan. Like her dad did not like this. He didn't like that she was hanging out with these kids. And he didn't like that she was dressing differently. And she started, at 16, she changed a lot and acted really dark and different. And he was not a fan. And this really caused a huge wedge in their relationship.
At 16, people are trying to find themselves, so their clothes change. They're trying to look good. Boys are starting to take more showers.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes Dave a long time to take showers still at 30 years old. # fuck Stinky Dave.
Oh, God. Robert also immediately went back to work and buried himself in it. And family members noticed the change in Clara, like her aunt and uncle, Robert's brother and his sister-in-law, noticed that Clara was looking really depressed. She was acting more withdrawn, kind of retreating into herself. And they came to Robert and actually said to him, like, hey, your daughter doesn't seem like she's doing really good. Like, she's not handling this really well. Maybe you guys need some mental health help, or like maybe you should get her into some therapy because she's obviously not handling her mom's death very well. And Robert literally told his brother, like, mind your business. And he refused to put her into any type of therapy or even really deal with it with her. He just went back to work and kind of neglected the situation. And Clara was left to kind of handle, as a 15, 16-year-old kid, handle all of these feelings on her own. So he didn't make time to help his daughter deal with the grief of losing her mother. The other 2 kids were grown and out of the house, and Clara was the only one left. So it was just the 2 of them in there. He didn't know how to handle this, so he pretty much just neglected the situation. And the issues between them grew and grew. And Clara resented her father and began to hate him. Clara Schwartz was 20 years old when her father was murdered. And according to everyone who knew her, she was a young woman who was living more in her imagination at this point than reality. Her friends described her as smart but moody, creative but manipulative, someone who leaned hard into the goth and fantasy aesthetic that was popular in the 90s and early 2000s.
She probably bought like those fake vampire teeth from Spencer's and Hot Topic.
Probably. Clara had built her own fantasy role-playing world, her own version of Dungeons and Dragons, where she acted as the game master and always placed herself at the center of the story. For anyone who isn't a self-proclaimed nerd, games like Dungeons & Dragons, aka D&D, are basically storytelling role-playing games.
And when I was a kid, they said it had evil spirits attached to it.
They act like it was like the devil.
Yeah, like you get like possessed or some shit from playing a nerd's version of Monopoly or some shit, or Trouble or Snake. Was it Shoots and Ladders? I don't know. Some bunch of weird shit.
Back in the day, the Satanic Panic was wild.
Yeah, and my mom still believes that shit. Like, my brother will say certain things are satanic. # fuck Dave.
So Dungeons & Dragons, aka D&D, is a storytelling role-playing game. So you play with a group of people. One person is the dungeon master or DM, and they create an imaginary world filled with characters, monsters, and quests, while the other players role play as adventurers trying to survive and win.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It's part improv, part strategy game, and part group storytelling. In the late 90s and early 2000s, role-playing games like D&D, Vampire the Masquerade, and Magic the Gathering were really popular with a lot of teens, especially kids who hung in goth and fantasy circles. For people like Clara Schwartz, who already had a vivid imagination and a love for dark fantasy, these games weren't just a hobby. They became a way to live out alternate realities and test the boundaries between make-believe and real life. So in this world, the one she created in her head, she is the dungeon master, and she called the world the Underworld. She referred to herself as the queen of the underworld, and she named herself Lord Chaos. She created an in-depth storyline filled with kingdoms and betrayals and quests, and her closest friends, Michael, Catherine, and Patrick, would play along with her. So, like, they're not meeting weekly to play. This is far beyond Dungeons and Dragons. They are, like, actually role-playing a lot of the time, like, in life.
So they, like, walk up to each other and be like, good day, milady.
Yes. So they're, like, doing stuff like that. They're on AOL.
They're bowing to each other and shit.
They're on AOL Instant Messenger, and they're talking about, like, this whole world, and they're weaving it in and out of conversations about the real world. It's actually really interesting when you think about it. It's like they have one foot on either side of reality and fantasy. And sometimes their conversations would weave in and out of what's happening in real world and this make-believe world that Clara created. Things that were mundane, like errands or going to the grocery store or a restaurant, would become quests or missions where her friends were sent to accomplish tasks for the good of the realm. Her friends played along, but they also admitted later that Clara used the game to test boundaries, to control the story, and to control them, because everything revolved around her.
This is the beginning of a cult.
The constant bending of fantasy and reality made the line between the real world and the underworld extremely blurry. So, when the group met a kid named Kyle Holbert, an unmedicated, paranoid schizophrenic who had just aged out of the foster system, it was by far the worst thing that could have ever happened to Kyle. He thought he was joining a circle of fellow role players, but meeting Clara and her friends was like stepping onto a chessboard where he was already a pawn in a game that he didn't fully understand. The two first crossed paths at the Maryland Renaissance Festival.
You wanted to go there.
Which I am really excited to go this year because I went as a kid all the time, like every year, and I love the Maryland Renaissance Festival. It is one of the best ones on the East Coast. It's actually really well known as being one of the best. And I haven't gone in years, and so I'm super excited to go this year.
So if anyone's looking to murder us, that's where we'll be.
So this was a place tailor-made for someone like Clara. The fair was filled with knights, costumes, swords, medieval pageantry. And there was Kyle, a lanky 18-year-old who lived and breathed that world. Kyle carried real swords. He wore capes and adopted the persona of a noble protector. He was also deeply mentally ill. He was a paranoid schizophrenic, and just a year earlier, he was released from the foster system with a bus ticket and a 30-day supply of medication. That's it. No other resources, no job, nowhere to go.
And that's how homeless people are created.
And it's really atrocious, in my opinion. Like, it's crazy that you have these kids who are in and out of institutions and foster care, and then they turn 18, and a judge just goes, all right, go live your best life. Here's 30 days of your meds and a bus ticket. Sayonara. So he had been in and out of psychiatric hospitals, and he struggled to function in day-to-day life.
So he was living on the street.
So he was like couch surfing at this point because he did have acquaintances.
Oh.
And he had friends. Not a lot of friends, but he had acquaintances and people he knew, and he was couch surfing when he met this group. He truly believed he had a mission to protect people in danger, especially women. Kyle was tall, skinny, lanky. He wore all black, with black boots and a trench coat most of the time. He believed he was a vampire, and he would even go to nightclubs in Virginia, D.C., and Baltimore to find people who would let him drink their blood.
What the fuck?
These were goth clubs where other self-proclaimed vamps hang out. And Baltimore has a pretty big goth vamp scene, actually. I went down this whole rabbit hole of vampirism subculture, and I learned a lot about people who consider themselves modern vampires when I was researching this case. And it's actually really interesting. So, like, not all modern day vampires consume blood, but the ones that do call themselves vampires and they consume blood, they're actually called sanguines. And vampirism today focuses more on energy work fused with the vampire aesthetic. It was actually really interesting for me to learn about.
So they couldn't think of nothing. They were looking at a penguin and they just changed.
No, Russ, sanguinis fluid is your blood.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a stupid ass name.
It's because it's blood in like Latin or something. It's a medical term.
Oh, they're so cool.
So Kyle did like to suck blood a lot of times, but this was done more sexually. So he would find a woman who's into this, and he would suck their blood while having sex. So it seems like it was more of like a kink than just like randomly, hey, can I suck your blood? Like it was done during sex. So it was definitely more of a kink that he had going on.
Yeah, he's fucking weird.
Which, like, whatever, you know, if you're kinky, you're kinky. Like, do whatever you want. It's your life. I don't care what you do, whatever flips your switch, as long as it's consensual. And there are people who consider themselves donors in the vampire world, and they get off on vampires sucking their blood. It's really crazy.
What the I'm like, how is this real?
This is real.
These people think that they're like what we do in the shadows.
Yeah, they really, it's very interesting. Like, I love learning about...
Oh my God, if Jess wasn't with me, she'd be like, you know what? I'm going to explore vampire life.
No, I'm not.
What are you, Jim Jones?
No, I just find it interesting to learn about subcultures. I find people who put themselves in categories and are staunch in these categories and like really identify and describe themselves as these things, no matter what it is, whether it's a cult or, you know, whatever. I find it so fascinating.
It's just because, you know what? These dudes ain't getting no girls. They get a girl that say, oh, I think when you don't wear eyeliner, you look attractive. And they're like, all right, I'm going to take my teeth out of my eyeliner now.
No, Kyle.
And blonde my hair, dye my hair blonde.
Kyle got a lot of girls. He had a girlfriend. Like, he totally got girls. He wasn't lacking in that department. So Kyle was at a club once, and he told this girl that he was a vampire, and he's looking for some blood. And the girl agreed, and she said she's a donor. Someone who lets vampires drink their blood. So she just, right there on the dance floor, pricked her finger and was like, here.
Have some AIDS on me.
And Kyle was actually like offended. He immediately got annoyed. And he looked around at all the goths in the club, and he felt like they were just a bunch of people playing dress up. Whereas he is the real deal. He lived it fully, 100% of the time. And he saw all the other people as a joke.
He can't even see himself in a mirror.
Kyle wasn't dangerous in the typical sense. He isn't going to just walk up to random people and hurt people unnecessarily. He was actually kind of sweet, but he was delusional. He was frequently hallucinating at this point because he was off of his medications, and he was vulnerable to anyone who gave his life a sense of mission or meaning. To Kyle, meeting Clara must have felt like destiny. She spun these dramatic tales about herself, and he immediately fell into the role she carved out for him. She told him in this world, the underworld, he is the protector, the loyal knight defending her honor. Their friendship, if you can call it that, quickly became this unbalanced dynamic where Clara fed Kyle stories, and Kyle believed he'd been chosen to live them out because he was completely psychotic. His brain was unable to sift through what is real and what is fantasy. One of the most damaging threads Clara wove into her fantasy world was the story she told about her father. Over and over, she told her friends that Robert Schwartz was abusive, controlling, and cruel. She claimed he hit her, that he poisoned her food, and that he was trying to kill her. She talked about her father's abuse all the time, and she started referring to him only as the OG, old guy. For a young man who's already fragile and desperate for a quest to give him purpose, Clara's abuse stories were like the fuel Kyle needed to fully embody his role as a protector. She had successfully painted herself as the damsel in distress, trapped by her villainous father. And Kyle, with his sword and his delusions of chivalry, believed that he was the one destined to save her.
This dude reminds me of the dude that used to go up and down Tremont Avenue with a lightsaber that he would like holster in his underwear.
Yeah, well, but this dude actually carried a real sword.
First of all, why are you allowed to carry a real sword outside?
He was carrying a real sword under his trench coat all the time. It was strapped to him.
How do you get away with that? But the dude I know, Tony, he used to put a lightsaber and have the trench coat. But he also worked at the Halloween store, and he was nice.
Yeah. Kyle's nice, too. He's just completely delusional.
Yeah, but he's probably about to commit a crime.
Well, these abuse claims became a central part of Clara's conversations with Kyle. As their friendship grew, he told her to write down all the instances of abuse, to keep a record of it. The stories she would tell would get more and more elaborate. She told him about sexual abuse. She said there were times when her father would sneak into her bedroom and finger her and kiss her in the middle of the night. Kyle confided in Clara that he too was sexually assaulted when he was a small child. And after she heard that, Clara talked about the sexual abuse constantly to him.
Wow. I think it should be, if you kill someone who sexually abused you when you were a child, you should get off pretty easy. Like if it's like revenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hashtag vote for us.
Kyle wasn't just another friend. He was someone who could be molded into her protector. She was feeding him a version of her life where she was constantly at risk. And Kyle believed every word. For him, this wasn't just Clara venting about family problems. This was a call to action. So the friend group that they were with all the time is now made up of Michael, Catherine, Clara, Patrick, and Kyle. Michael and Catherine were a couple, and so were Clara and Patrick. So Kyle came along, and this is like, you know, Catherine and Michael are a couple, Clara and Patrick are a couple, and then there's Kyle, okay? And Kyle came into this picture, and even though he and Clara got closer and closer as time went on, they weren't romantically involved. Kyle viewed them as kindred spirits, especially after Clara began talking about the sexual abuse she was experiencing at the hands of her father. So he thought of Clara as like a sister.
I kind of feel like he got stuck in the friend zone. I have a friend that always got stuck in the friend zone, and he would hang out with these girls that he really did like, but he just was always the nice guy.
In this case, that's not it, because he had a girlfriend named Brandy. And him and his girlfriend Brandy. But like Brandy didn't hang out with this group of kids. So Kyle always wanted a sister. He was a foster child with no family. And this kind of became his family. And he saw Clara as a sister type. Sidebar, but something super weird is that Michael and Catherine just used to have sex in front of their friends. Like, they would just start making out and then like get undressed and start having sex in front of everybody. And I found that so weird.
It seems like they wanted someone to join.
I don't know. It was really weird. But yeah, there are a lot of reports that they would just like, they'd all be like watching a movie on the couch and then the two of them would just start having sex in front of everyone.
I feel like you don't have real friends if they don't feel like they could say, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
they're not friends. It's just a bunch of insecure people that are happy to have people around.
Yeah, it does seem more like that. So Clara and her boyfriend Patrick are both at James Madison University, and
my cousin went there.
Yeah, and they are playing Underworld all the time through Instant Messenger. Patrick called himself a rogue assassin, and Clara, this is when she started calling herself Lord Chaos. And during their Instant Messenger chats, Clara started talking about a mission to Patrick. The mission was killing a character called OG. Patrick thought this was all part of the game, but Clara eventually made it clear that she wanted Patrick to kill her father in real life. Initially, Patrick played along, thinking it was all part of the underworld, but after constantly bringing it up, it became too much for him, and he started distancing himself, and eventually, he broke up with her.
See, the problem with that is she's acting like that's like a mission of the game, but you're going to go to jail in real life.
Yeah.
You ain't going to go to jail in the game.
Exactly.
You ain't going to just not pass go and not collect 200. It's a wrap.
Yeah, exactly. Clara is a very complex individual, and we're going to talk more about her in a little bit because she is next level. I don't know how anyone could be around this person, to be honest. I actually hate her. So meanwhile, Clara and Kyle are getting closer and closer, and they're talking all the time now because Patrick broke up with her. So now she's, instant messaging Kyle constantly. And Kyle ended up moving in with Catherine and Michael at Michael's house. So he's living with her other two friends at this point. So meanwhile, Clara and Kyle are getting closer and talking all the time now. And she started bringing up the mission to kill OG with Kyle. And he took it very seriously. Kyle hallucinated a lot. He heard voices from things he referred to as Nicodemus, Sada, and Ordog. And they wouldn't let him hurt anyone unless there was just cause. So these voices are talking to him all the time. And he calls them his entities, okay? And he hears them audibly talk to him because he's hallucinating since he's schizophrenic. And they used to tell him that he's allowed to kill, but only if there's a just cause for killing. In one of their instant message chats, Kyle asked Clara, "Can I kill the OG for you?" And she said, "We'll talk about this in person." Clara told Kyle that her and her family were going on a trip to the Virgin Islands in the fall, and she thinks that she won't be back. She told Kyle that her father was planning to kill her there. This made Kyle feel intense pressure. He was consumed with the idea of killing her father before the trip so that her father couldn't kill her. Kyle asked the entities in his head if he could do it, and they said yes.
Wow.
So on December 7th, 2001, Clara and Kyle met up, and she gave him $60, gloves, and a do-rag.
A do-rag?
She gave him this do-rag so that he could wrap up his hair so that there wouldn't be any left at the scene.
So it wasn't to get waves?
No, it wasn't to get waves.
First of all, is he white?
Yes.
White people ain't supposed to have do-rags, man. That's against the law.
Well, I think it was just for this purpose.
That's part of
it was pretty funny.
That's part of the 10 fly commandments. If you're going to be fly, you can't wear a do-rag if you're a white dude.
On December 8th, Kyle asked Michael and Catherine to give him a ride to Clara's house. They didn't know why he needed to go there, but they gave him the ride anyway. Kyle knocked on the door. And remember, Clara's not here. She's at college. So her father is home alone. Okay? Kyle knocked on the door. When Robert Schwartz answered, he had no idea the danger standing in front of him. Kyle was polite at first, asking if Clara was there, and then just kind of stepping into the house and closing the door behind him.
This is why I literally never open my door. If you can't call me and say you coming over, anyone at the door that I don't recognize, I don't care if you have a police officer outfit on.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a stripper trying to shake your ding-a-ling at the wrong address.
Oh, God.
Like, I'm not opening the door for anyone.
Once inside, he attacked Robert. He stabbed him 17 times. His throat was slashed so deeply that he nearly decapitated him.
Wow.
And then he carved an X into Robert's neck with his sword. After realizing Robert was dead, Kyle ran back out to the car where Michael and Catherine were waiting. They didn't know what happened, but they would soon realize when they saw blood on Kyle's face and on the sword. Catherine immediately started wiping the blood off Kyle's face and sword. And the three of them were trying to drive off, but they got stuck in the mud at the end of the driveway. And they had to call a tow truck.
Damn nerds didn't know how to get out.
They had to call a tow truck. When the tow truck guys showed up, they had to give their real names, and Michael had to give his driver's license. The next day, Kyle called Clara and told her that her father was dead. And she simply said, "Okay." When police showed up to her school on December 11th, they were shocked at how unemotional she was. She didn't cry at all, and instead, during questioning, she just vented to the police about how much she hated her father. They immediately suspected that she was involved, and they had to figure out how.
Booker Dano.
They began questioning Clara and her circle of friends, and the picture became clearer. Catherine started talking a bit too much, implicating her and Michael in an accessory to murder. Kyle quickly confessed, but his explanation stunned police. He insisted that he had killed Robert to save Clara. He spoke about being her protector, about his duty to rescue her from her abusive father. Police then questioned her ex-boyfriend, Patrick, who told cops all about Clara trying to convince him to kill her father. So now they know, she had already tried to convince her ex to do this. Kyle confessed to it. And now they're putting the pieces together that, Kyle is mentally ill and Clara is the mastermind behind this entire thing.
She was just trying to get anyone to kill him.
Exactly. Michael, Catherine, Clara, and Kyle were charged. Clara was charged with first-degree murder, solicitation to commit murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Michael and Kyle were both charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Now remember, Michael didn't know why he was taking Kyle to the house. He just drove him there.
Wow.
Catherine took a plea deal with a reduced sentence of accessory after the fact in exchange for her testimony against Clara and Kyle and Michael. So in court, the prosecutors laid out their case. They said Clara had manipulated Kyle into committing murder. She knew exactly what she was doing. She painted her father as a monster. She weaponized Kyle's mental illness and fantasy life against Robert. She didn't swing the sword herself, but she orchestrated the entire crime. Catherine's testimony was the most damning against her friend Clara. She told the jury that on multiple occasions, Clara spoke about a large inheritance she would receive if her father died. She also told Catherine, quote, "I think I can convince Kyle to do it. He will take the fall," proving to the judge and jury that Clara knew she was manipulating him. So after interviewing family, they interviewed her sister and her brother, and they all said that their father was loving, that there was no abuse happening. Now, listen, we don't know for 100% fact that he didn't abuse his daughter, because at the end of the day, they did live alone in that house for a year. And so we can't necessarily say that no abuse happened. But Clara claimed that her father was trying to poison her, that he was trying to kill her, that he was abusive. And then during police interrogations, she kind of backtracked on all those claims and just said that one time he pushed her. So it went from one time he pushed her to all of that stuff.
Was she using the one push as justification for killing him?
Yes, she was saying that he pushed her and that they had this bad relationship. I really think that after her mom died, her father went back to work, neglected her because he didn't know how to deal.
You also got to work, and you're not going to be around a lot if you want to eat, because I have to go make money.
It's not the only reason. He went back to work because he didn't want to face the reality of having to deal with his daughter, who was losing control of herself after her mother died.
Oh.
And he didn't know how to emotionally handle it, so he just neglected her. And I think that caused a lot of resentment. And then, of course, they started arguing. She got really gothy, and he didn't like it. He didn't like the people she was hanging out with, so I'm sure they argued. And then it turned into this teenage angst situation. And then maybe he did push her. But according to the police interrogations, when she was questioned about the abuse, the only thing she actually admitted is that he pushed her once. Whereas she was telling Kyle and all her friends all of these horrible things he was doing. And then once she found out that Kyle had been sexually assaulted when he was a baby, he was a very small child, she then harped on this sexual abuse and talked about it all the time. Kyle was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Good.
Clara was convicted of first-degree murder by agency and sentenced to 48 years. Catherine and Michael both received lighter sentences. Michael received 18 years.
Whoa, he just drove them and didn't know?
Yeah.
But is it because he knew and then drove off?
No, it's because he knew that it was potentially going to happen, but he didn't know that it was going to happen that time. And then Catherine and him found out that it had just happened when Kyle gets back in the car and there's blood all over him, and they don't tell anybody.
See, I don't know. I don't think that's good. Like, he didn't do it. You got to be allowed to not want to be involved in crazy shit.
But he knew that Kyle was planning to do this. Like, he knew that he might have not known that day it was going to happen, but he knew that this was in the plan.
But did he really believe it? Because a lot of people say they're going to kill someone.
Yeah.
Whenever I play 2K and I dunk on someone, they always tell me they're going to punch me in my face, they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
They always tell me, the craziest shit.
Yeah.
And like, you ain't going to do it.
Unfortunately, during Michael's questioning, he told cops that he knew Kyle was going to do this, like, ahead of time, and that kind of sealed his fate.
But still, now, if he went to the police and like, hey, I think my friend's going to kill someone, they're going to be like, well, he didn't do it.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, there was nothing that the cops would have done. Then I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah, but the cops didn't discover Robert's body for 2 days, so that means that Catherine and Michael knew that this happened for 2 days and didn't tell anyone.
I think being required to snitch is dumb. Like, if they don't even ask you.
We've had this conversation before, and
it's so stupid. I just want to stay out of this craziness business. Oh shit, they killed. So I'm getting the fuck away from them. I'm getting away from this. I'm not talking.
Yeah, but they didn't though. They drove him home. They cleaned off his sword. They cleaned off his face. They knew for 2 days they were involved at that point.
Maybe they
and Michael knew ahead of time that this was the plan. They deserve consequences. You can't just do that.
Well, you can't be the driver if you know he's going to do it, but he didn't know. You said he didn't know he was going to do it.
He didn't know at that time, but he knew that it was going to happen.
Like, for real. Like, he really knew, and this wasn't just like...
Well, that's what he told cops.
Some weirdo kid saying, tonight's going to be the night.
Yeah, he really thought... he really knew he was going to do it. He told the cops that. Like, Michael shouldn't have told the cops that he knew, because now that's why he got 18 years.
Mike, you should have shut up.
Well, now he's out, I think, because he had 18-year sentence, and this was 2001, so... And Catherine, she got only 12 months in jail in exchange for her testimony. Like, her plea agreement was 1 year in jail, and she got time served by the time of the trial, and she ended up being released 6 days after the trial. But what makes this case so tragic is that there was never any evidence of Robert Schwartz abusing his daughter. None. Family, colleagues, and friends, all of them described him as a kind, intelligent man who was sometimes strict, but never cruel. The abuse existed only in Clara's diaries and her imagination.
Diaries, but a lot of times in court, they use your diaries to, like, prove stuff.
And they did. They used her diaries a lot, because she wrote everything down about how she knew she could get Kyle to do things. She talked, in her diary entries, she talked so much shit about everyone around her. All she did was complain about all of her friends, and her diary entries were just constant complaining about her friends, her family, everybody around her. She sounded like such a miserable shithead.
She was a vampire. An energy vampire.
Yeah, she definitely was.
Like my boy from What We Do in the Shadows.
She was. At the end of the day, this wasn't just a story about a brilliant scientist murdered in his home. It's a story about manipulation, mental illness, and how dangerous it can be when these two things collide. Kyle Holbert was a young man who needed help, structure, and treatment. Instead, he met Clara Schwartz, someone who saw his fragility and used it as a weapon. She fed his delusions. She played into his obsessions and convinced him that her fantasy world was real. And for what? There was no inheritance, no freedom gained, no greater purpose achieved. Robert Schwartz's murder was completely senseless. A brilliant scientist lost his life. Kyle lost any chance of recovery. And 2 other young people's lives were destroyed. All because one manipulative person chose to exploit someone else's illness to carry out a twisted fantasy. Clara turned a role-playing game into a murder plot and proved that the most dangerous stories are the lies we convince others to believe. This story really intrigued me. I felt like I got really interested in it because of the whole manipulation factor. Clara Schwartz is evil, and she deserves to be in prison longer than 48 years. I think that she should have gotten life without parole because I really see her as the mastermind behind this entire thing. There is no evidence to support any abuse happened in that home.
I would think in a lot of sexual abuse allegations, there's no evidence, if it's reported like way after.
But it's interesting that during her police interrogation, she was with her sister. So originally her uncle, the one that asked her father if she should be in therapy or whatever, her uncle stepped in and was like, hey, I don't think you should be questioning her without a lawyer present.
Absolutely.
And the detective on the case was like, no problem. How about we have her sister sit in? And the detective was smart. He was like, I'm not letting her lawyer up. How about we have her sister sit in and her sister can be part of the interrogation so she's not alone, okay? And her sister was a few years older than her. So she's in her mid-20s.
So she felt safe, but we're all dumb when it comes to cops if you're not in this, space where you listen to all these people testifying against themselves or giving up information that they shouldn't.
She didn't.
But I do want her to give up all the information because she was guilty as sin.
She didn't feel safe. What it was is that the detective knew that he would be able to question all these things about her life with her father and her childhood and all that. And now her sister is there and she'd have to tell the truth because her sister was in that house and that's her sister's father too.
This guy was like Matlock.
And so he was really trying to get the truth out of her. Because up till that point, all she was doing, literally the day they brought her in for questioning after, she found out her father was dead, all she did was complain about him and talk about how terrible of a father he was and blah, 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 blah. And then they go and they see her sister and brother and their reactions, they were devastated. And so cops are like, what the hell is going on here? How is this girl so cold and unemotional and now complaining? And then these two, who are her siblings, are bawling their eyes out.
But the sister and brother didn't live with him, right?
Yeah, but only for the last couple of years because they had grown up.
Oh, okay. So they lived with him their whole life.
Yeah. So the cops were automatically weirded out by this. Why is her reaction so cold compared to them if he was this horrible man and this horrible abusive father?
I'm not going to completely dismiss that he was innocent or guilty, but it seems like it's leaning towards him not being guilty, but I'm just not going to completely dismiss it.
So when I was researching this case, my main source was a book called I'd Kill for You by M. William Phelps, and it's very in-depth. It's 88 chapters. It's a huge, in-depth research about this case, and this book was super, super detailed. And it was really interesting. If you're interested in this case, definitely go read it or listen to it on Audible. But, while I was listening to the book the entire time, I could tell that the author, as he was describing this all the way up until the interrogation, he was very much alluding to the fact that the abuse allegations were not real. So the whole time I was listening to the book, I was thinking okay, but the abuse could have been real. How do we know it actually wasn't? It was just her and him in that house together alone. So it definitely could have happened. But the thing that convinced me that it was probably false was the fact that she harped on the inheritance that she was set to get.
That, money is the motivation all the time.
She was apparently supposed to get about $400,000 when he died, and she kept harping on this with her friends.
She probably would have blew through that in Spencer's in 2 years.
And then the other thing that really convinced me was that when she was interrogated with her sister present, the only thing she said was that he pushed her once. And when the cops started bringing up all of these abuse allegations, she backtracked on them. And her sister was like, what are you talking about? You told them that? And she was like, well, no, it actually didn't happen like that, blah, 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 blah. So she kind of backtracked on everything.
So what's there's no real reason for her wanting her father dead.
She just hated him. And she's a narcissist. And she is a psychopath. And she is cold and disgusting and a horrible human being. And she just hated her father. And in all, like I said, in all of her diary entries, she talked shit about all of her quote unquote friends. All she did was complain about everyone around her.
See,
nonstop.
That's not cool to write all that down. When you want to like complain about your friends, you got to go to them and roast them. You do it directly to their face and you laugh at them.
Yeah, she was constantly complaining about everyone around her. And then she meets Kyle. She knows he's mentally ill. She knows he's delusional. And she like calculated this entire thing. I hate her so much. When I was listening to the book, I hated her so much. I'm so glad she's in jail. She is listen, I know that Kyle murdered someone. And at the end of the day, he murdered an innocent man who didn't deserve it. But Kyle was living in a fantasy world in his head. He didn't understand what was real and what was not real.
I don't give a shit.
I'm not making it.
To me, he's worse than her because he actually committed the murders. Committing the murders and like being able to physically stab someone is something she couldn't do. So she got someone else to do it.
I don't think that he's worse. I think they're equally guilty. And I think she is probably worse because she's the one who knew she was manipulating him. She knew she was doing this. She knew everything she was doing. And she planned the entire thing. They're both guilty.
You have a little
They're
pity
both
for him?
wrong. I don't think that I don't have any pity for him in the sense of, he murdered someone. I don't pity him for murdering somebody. But I do think that she's worse because she knowingly manipulated him. It's different.
If she didn't have anyone to manipulate, she wouldn't be bad at all.
Yes, she would.
No, because she wasn't actually doing anything except whining. So unless you have someone that's willing to commit murder for you, she didn't do a damn thing. So she found someone and now she's part of it. She's a piece of shit, but she's not a murderer.
I still think she's equally as guilty as him.
Well, yeah, she's equally as guilty, but
I think she deserved
if she didn't
a life
have
sentence.
this dude, she wouldn't be in jail unless she found another crazy person.
And I don't pity him, but at the same time,
do you feel bad? Like, what's the word you're going to use?
I don't know the right word. She exploited someone who is not in control of their brain. He is not able to control.
I don't care.
He's not able to control what is real and what is not real, because people with schizophrenia, they don't know the difference between real life and fantasy and what's really there and what's not there. They can't decipher it.
Yeah, well, you could use that excuse if you're watching a TV show like Star Wars and you think it's actually real in real life, but you can't use that when it comes down to murder.
But I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to be in jail for life. I'm just saying that he couldn't decipher real versus fantasy.
There's tons of people like me that just don't give a shit what his mental problems are when you're committing heinous crimes like this. You didn't go steal an ice cream or something like that. You did pretty much the worst thing you can do.
If he would have never met them, I don't know if he would have. I mean, maybe he still would have committed murder. Who knows? But
he was already walking around with a sword. What the hell are you walking around with a sword for? I mean, he was on his way to dying from some type of disease, always drinking random's blood.
Yeah, so one of his friends died of AIDS because his friend was a vampire and drank someone's blood who had AIDS.
I didn't think you could get it from drinking blood. Maybe you have a cut in your mouth or some shit.
I don't know. Yeah, one of his friends who was into that scene did, apparently, so.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, you didn't know how you could catch it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing people drink after people that had AIDS very early on, and I'm like, oh, being a little kid, I don't know shit.
Yeah, you don't know.
But
well, shout out to all
can't get it like that, obviously.
Shout out to all the goths and vamps in Baltimore. I guess there's a whole scene here. I actually looked it up. They had vampires in the park a couple months ago at Patapsco State Park.
There's probably like, oh my God, if I was
there was pictures of all of them there. They looked like really nice people. They were just hanging out. They were just a bunch of like nerdy goth kids. They're living their life. They're living their best vampire selves. Like, cool, good for them.
How many of them are there dressed like Blade?
Some of them were there with some cloaks.
I bet you there's not one Jessica Biel in that motherfucker.
Some of them had some cloaks. Some of them had some, black lipstick and all. It's very interesting. I just thought it was really.
Jess
really
wants to
cool.
go. She wants to go to one of these things. She just doesn't want to ask because I will roast the fuck out of her.
No, I don't want to go. I find
0% chance you want to go.
No, I wouldn't go.
Liar.
I find people who identify with fringe very interesting. I'm not alone in this. Like, I've always talked about the fact that I would love to like infiltrate a cult and like go undercover. I just find stuff like this so fascinating. I'm very interested in why humans are the way they are and like what makes humans do weird shit. I love sociology for that reason. I just love observing human behavior and why they do weird shit. And I find it so cool. I really do.
Yeah. I just never wonder.
I do. I find it so cool. Okay, before we end though, can we just acknowledge the fact that we had a paranormal situation happen?
Oh my God.
And we just went on with the podcast. We didn't even acknowledge it. We like talked about it for 5 seconds and then went on with the story.
A paranormal.
Russ, you saw, they might not hear it. Once I go into post-production and I master this track, they might not hear the bang, but that was a loud bang.
Listen, in houses, there's crosswinds that make doors move a little and stuff. Nothing flew. I need something to fly.
You looked freaked out.
No, I didn't. I was just like, that's crazy.
You looked freaked out.
I looked at the door. Where else would I look? You look where the noise is coming from. There's not going to be a noise and then I look away. Unless you're in New York City, there's something going on. You look away, you mind your business. You probably deserve that ass whipping.
Well, you thought that it was a big enough bang that one of our dogs tried to get in the door.
I thought Tyson got up here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe, I'm going to name the ghost Bang Bang.
Bang Bang?
Yeah.
Well, I had a conversation with all the ghosts that live here. I told them to be nice. I've burned sage. I've done all the things. So we have some good entities here. So I don't think it's anybody trying to cause us any harm.
Oh, please. I want to fly. Carry me down the stairs, up the stairs, to my car. What up?
Well, hopefully they can carry you around the house. That would be really convenient for you.
And then I'd be rich.
You would. It would give you a lot of freedom.
I'd be like R. Kelly. I believe I can fly.
All right,
minus the peeing on women, unless you want to get peed on.
Yeah, we're not going obviously, we don't condone anything R. Kelly did. We're going to have more people commenting on our episode.
Oh, no, Russ likes R. Kelly. Oh, no, Russ was a fan of Hulk Hogan when he was 8, but didn't understand racial tension at 8 years old.
Okay. All right, everybody. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime The Crime Family and wifeofcrime.com for all the merch. And we will be back at you later.
Don't be a vampire, folks.
Don't be a vampire. I want to suck your blood.
Blood.
All right, bye.